Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into India's latest budget. And look, this is way more than just a collection of numbers on a spreadsheet. It's really a strategic plan, a vision for the country's entire economic destiny. So let's dive in and see what that future is supposed to look like.
Okay, so here's our game plan for unpacking it all. We'll kick things off with the big picture vision, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the growth strategy. After that, we're going to look at the specific plans for manufacturing, services, and agriculture. Then, we'll cover the massive infrastructure projects that are meant to tie this whole thing together. And finally, we'll wrap up with the single most important takeaway.
So, what's the big idea driving all of this? You'll see how every single policy, every repeat that's being allocated in this budget, it all points toward one single, really ambitious goal.
At the very heart of it all is this phrase, Viksit Bharat. Now that translates to a developed India, but it's about so much more than just economic growth. The key thing to understand here is the balance it's striving for. It's all about marrying that high-flying ambition with a real promise of inclusion, making sure no one gets left behind.
So what does Viksit Bharat actually mean in practice? Well, you can think of it as the budget's North Star. The whole point is to move beyond just talking about potential and to systematically start converting the nation's aspirations into tangible economic performance, real measurable achievements for its people.
A grand vision is one thing, right? But how do you actually make it happen? And that's where the blueprint for growth comes in. Let's take a look at the core principles that are really holding up this entire strategy.
The government is being really clear about its philosophy here. It's a deliberate shift. It's about taking decisive action instead of being indecisive, pushing for deep, structural reforms instead of just empty talk, and designing policies for long-term public benefit rather than, say, short-term political wins.
And if that philosophy works, this is what the result is supposed to be. The goal is to create a stable, predictable economic environment. We're talking about sustained high growth, yeah, but not growth at any cost. It has to come with controlled inflation, responsible government spending, and a stronger, more self-reliant economy that's not so dependent on critical imports.
The whole strategy is anchored by this three-part pledge, or what's called a sankalp. First, you boost national productivity. Second, you empower citizens so they can actually be partners in creating prosperity, not just people waiting for it. And third, you make sure that access to resources and opportunities is truly for everyone. See the flow here? It's really a bottom-up approach, starting with the individual and building all the way up to national strength.
All right, let's get into the first big engine of this growth plan, manufacturing. The goal here is nothing short of a huge strategic push to make Made in India a globally recognized mark of quality and innovation.
Yeah, this image really nails the vision, doesn't it? We're not talking about reviving dusty, old-school factories. The ambition here is to build a modern manufacturing powerhouse that's high-tech, automated, and can compete with anyone on the global stage.
So, how are they going to do it? Well, through a whole series of super-specific targeted initiatives. This includes really ambitious projects like the India Semiconductor Mission 2.0 to build a domestic chip industry from the ground up, programs to boost biopharma, schemes to secure rare earth magnets, and even a plan to modernize 200 older industrial clusters.
Now, a huge piece of this puzzle is focusing on the real engine of the Indian economy. It's micro, small, and medium enterprises, the MSMEs. These are the businesses that create the most jobs, and the support for them is kind of three-pronged, giving them access to funding, making sure they have the cash flow to actually run their businesses day to day, and offering professional help so they can grow.
And this isn't just talk. They're putting serious money where their mouth is. A dedicated 10,000 crore rupee fund has been set up specifically to pump fuel into the growth engine of these small and medium businesses.
So, manufacturing is obviously a huge deal, but it's not the whole story. The budget is also making some really big plays in two other critical engines of growth, the services sector and, of course, agriculture. You can think of the strategy here as kind of walking two paths at the same time. On one hand, there's this major push to accelerate the new, high-tech digital economy, but at the same time, they're reinforcing the nation's traditional agricultural backbone, but this time infusing it with modern tech and investment.
When you look at the services sector, the plans are, well, they're incredibly diverse. The plan is to position India as a global hub for medical tourism, to really foster the creative economy with labs for animation and gaming, and to build out the digital infrastructure you need for modern tourism and data storage. It's a pretty wide net.
Over in agriculture, it's all about boosting productivity and helping farmers move up the value chain. basically helping them make more money. This involves promoting higher-value crops like cashews and cocoa, while also rolling out modern tech, like the AI-powered Bharat Vistar platform, which is designed to give farmers better data and tools to make smarter decisions. But none of this amazing growth in manufacturing, services, or farming can happen in a vacuum. You absolutely have to have the right foundations. And that brings us to the next massive piece of the budget, a national infrastructure push.
And if you want to get a sense of just how big this infrastructure push is, just look at these numbers. I mean, wow. Public capital spending is projected to rocket up to 12.2 lakh crore rupees. Now compare that to where it was back in fiscal year 2015, it's more than a six-fold increase. That's a truly monumental commitment.
So where's all that cash going? Well, it's being poured into some seriously game-changing projects. We're talking 7 new high-speed rail corridors to connect people, new freight lines to move goods way more efficiently, and integrated industrial corridors to link up all the production hubs. And get this, there's also a forward-looking 20,000 crore rupee investment in carbon capture tech. That's a pretty clear signal that the goal isn't just growth, but greener growth.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground, right? The big vision of a developed India, the strategic blueprint, and all the specific actions across manufacturing, services, and infrastructure. So, what's the bottom line? What's the one thing you should really take away from all this? So there you have it. The roadmap to a Viksit Bharat is laid out in incredible detail. The ambition is undeniable, the money is clearly on the table, and the strategy is all there. But, as with any grand plan, the ultimate test is always in the execution. The real question that only time will answer is this: can this blueprint successfully bridge that gap between potential and performance, and turn a powerful vision into a tangible reality for millions? That right there, that's the challenge and the opportunity that lies ahead.